Welcome to the CTP training video session on 3 methods of proofreading for translators. Sloppy work spoils future collaboration and can cost you and/or your agency money and time. Mind your reputation. Proofread your work. Overview. Once you've finished your translation, is your work done? Not at all. You still need to proofread your work. Your goals are threefold. 1. To make sure nothing is in your translation that wasn't in the source text on the one hand, and that nothing is missing that was there on the other hand. 2. To eradicate typos, errors of grammar and punctuation, etc. 3. To make sure that your finished translation reads well, idiomatic to the target language and in the same style and diction as the source text. This video presentation focuses on the first and third goals. The 3 methods of proofreading you can and should do. Ideally, in order to cover these goals, you want to do the following types of proofreading: original and translation comparison, back translation and/or retranslation, translation proofreading. Number 1. Comparing the original with the translation. Make sure your translation is complete. If you've been translating an Excel spreadsheet, check that you've got each sheet and each cell. Make sure there's nothing extra added in. Begin by comparing your translation with your original. You can work sentence by sentence or phrase by phrase, whichever is easier. Go through the text carefully, lining up the translation and the original. Watch especially for dropped phrases if you've been using tagged text in CAT software or in an Excel spreadsheet. As you compare, also double-check tricky places, tricky terms, and spots you weren't 100% happy or sure about on your initial pass through the original. Back translation. Back translation is another method of comparing your original and your translation. Back translation simply means taking the translation and then retranslating it back into the source language without first looking at the original. Then you compare the original and the back translated versions. Obviously there will be differences, but they should be minor and subtle, choices of expression, etc., and not major. Some translation agencies use back translation to double-check their translators' and even proofreaders' work. Often the agency will have the translator, proofreader, and back translator compare notes and reconcile their differences, sometimes even via a conference, but more often via a spreadsheet with comments. Retranslation. This is a laborious way to proofread, although comparing the original and translation and/or reworking tricky spots are one aspect of retranslation. The process is simple but not at all streamlined. You just retranslate your text and compare your 2 translations. Although retranslation is useful for tricky spots and can be illuminating, it nonetheless is a real duplication of labor and is such to be avoided unless necessary. You already did the work once, why do it twice for the same pay? And often it's like checking an algebra problem. If you do the problem backwards, as in back translation, you're more likely to find any errors, whereas if you just do the problem a second time, you're more likely to repeat the same error you made the first time. Translation proofreading. Now that you've checked your translation against the source text in one or more of the above ways, you next need to make sure it's a good text on its own. Read the translation as a text. Does it sound like Norwegish or Koreish? Fix it. It should sound like English or Norwegian or Korean, but not a mix. Do the level, style, diction, and tone match those of the original? Make sure that they do. A legal contract should not be written in street slang. Obviously, you should proofread the translation using your best proofreading skills as well. Look for spelling, grammar, punctuation, capitalization, formatting, numbers, etc. Anything that might be wrong. See our separate translator training video that focuses on proofreading. After all is said and done, run your spelling and grammar checker one more time. It's all a matter of time. Leave time to do 2 of these types of proofreading. Especially for literary translation, you should ideally put your translation away for at least a day and then reread it with fresh eyes and ears. A couple of days might even be better. Even the most rush job needs to be proofread. One final thought. Translator, know thyself. If, no matter how hard you try, you're a crummy proofreader at best, protect yourself and your client. Two possible options are: first, team up with another translator whose proofreading skills sparkle. Ideally, you'll bring other strengths that your partner lacks, from rainmaking to project management to specialized expertise. Second, pay another translator to proofread your work. You'll lose part of your fee, but you'll sleep better, and you won't lose your clients for the future. Note: never simply run your spell and grammar checker and hope it catches everything. It can't, and it won't. Once again, see our translation training videos on this topic. These three basic ways of proofreading, comparing the original and the translation, proofreading the translation, and back or re-translation, will help you turn in translated projects that are true to the original and that truly shine. Thank you for joining us for this CTP training video session on 3 methods of proofreading for translators.